The night sky over Earth was calm. Cities were glowing with lights. People were living their lives, unaware that everything was about to change. Then, without warning, the sky burned. Massive alien ships descended from the stars, blocking out the moon. They were sleek, black, and terrifying. Machines of war designed for destruction. Before anyone could react, the first strike hit. A blinding explosion consumed New York. Millions vanished in an instant. The ground trembled as shockwaves tore through the city. Skyscrapers collapsed like sandcastles, and fire rained from the sky. The world had seen wars before, but nothing like this. Across the globe, other cities faced the same fate. London, Beijing, Tokyo, all turned to ruins within minutes. The invaders had no mercy. No warning, just death. The world in chaos. In military bases around the world, alarms blared. Soldiers scrambled, leaders shouted orders, but no one knew what they were fighting. Satellites had failed to detect the alien fleet before it arrived. This wasn't just an attack. It was an extermination. In Washington, General Carter stood in the underground command center, watching in horror as the invasion unfolded on giant screens. "We need to fight back," he growled, his fists clenched. But how? Earth's weapons were useless against their shields. Fighter jets were swatted out of the sky like insects. Tanks were reduced to molten metal before they could even fire. The invaders were too powerful, too fast. Yet, despite the destruction, humans didn't surrender. They never did. Survivors in the rubble. In the ruins of Los Angeles, a young woman named Ilara crawled out from beneath a collapsed building. Her entire world was gone. Her family, her friends, all lost in an instant. But as she looked up at the burning sky, her fear turned into something else. Rage. She wouldn't die like this. She wouldn't let them win. Nearby, she saw a group of survivors, civilians, soldiers, even children. They had nothing left, but they had one thing the aliens didn't expect: the will to fight. A battered soldier handed her a weapon. "If we're going down," he said, "let's make them bleed first." And so, in the ashes of their fallen world, the first sparks of resistance were born. A mistake they will regret. High above the planet, in the command deck of the alien flagship, Supreme Commander Vector watched the destruction with cold satisfaction. "The humans are weaker than expected," one of his officers reported. "They will be wiped out soon." Vector narrowed his glowing yellow eyes. Something felt off. In every species they had conquered before, fear had taken over instantly. The weak begged for mercy. The strong fought for a while, then broke. But these humans, they were different. Even as their cities burned, they refused to kneel. This was not the reaction of a dying species. It was the reaction of a dangerous one. And the aliens had just made a terrible mistake. The world was in ruins, but humanity was not broken. Fires burned in the wreckage of once great cities, and the screams of the dying echoed through the streets. The alien invaders had crushed everything in their path, believing the war was already won. They were wrong. Survivors unite. In the mountains of Colorado, a secret underground bunker still stood. It had once been a military research facility, but now it was something more: a refuge, a headquarters, the last hope of humanity. General Carter, now the highest-ranking surviving officer, paced in front of a crowd of soldiers, scientists, and civilians. His voice was rough, but his eyes were sharp with determination. "We are not finished," he said. "The aliens think they've won, but we're still here. And as long as one human breathes, this fight is not over." Murmurs of agreement spread through the room. The people gathered there were exhausted, wounded, and grieving, but they were also angry. The aliens had come to destroy them, to erase them from history, but humanity had never been easy to kill. A new kind of war. Fighting back seemed impossible. Earth's strongest weapons had failed. Tanks, jets, even nuclear warheads had been useless against the alien shields. The invaders had technology that far surpassed anything humans had ever seen. But that didn't mean they were invincible. Dr. Evelyn Ross, a top scientist specializing in experimental warfare, stood up. "We need to think differently," she said. "We can't fight them head-on. But if we study their weapons, their ships, their soldiers, we can find a way." The room fell silent as the idea sank in. Humanity wouldn't win with brute force. They had to outsmart their enemy. A critical discovery. Deep in the ruins of Los Angeles, a small team of survivors moved through the rubble. Among them was Ilara, the woman who had crawled out of the destruction with nothing but rage in her heart. They were searching for supplies when they stumbled upon something unexpected, a fallen alien soldier. Its armor was cracked, its body still twitching. The humans approached cautiously, weapons raised. "It's still alive," one of them whispered. Ilara stepped forward, her grip tightening on her rifle. She knew what had to be done. They needed information. She pointed her weapon at the alien's head. "Tell me everything," she demanded. The creature growled in its strange, guttural language. It didn't fear them. It believed it would die before revealing any secrets. But what the alien didn't understand was that humans never stopped asking questions. And now, they had their first prisoner. The first strike. The resistance moved fast. Every piece of alien technology they found was studied, broken apart, and repurposed. Within days, they had their first working prototype of a weapon that could pierce the alien shields. The aliens had ruled the battlefield. Until now. Ilara led the first strike against a scouting patrol near the ruins of Chicago. The aliens didn't expect an attack. They believed humans were too weak, too scattered. When the first alien fell to a human-modified plasma rifle, the others hesitated for the first time. That hesitation was all humanity needed. The ambush was over in minutes, and for the first time since the invasion began, humans won a battle. The aliens take notice. On board the alien flagship, Supreme Commander Vector watched the battle reports. Something was wrong. The humans should have been too broken to fight back. Their weapons should have been useless. And yet, they had just won their first battle. Vector narrowed his glowing eyes. Perhaps he had underestimated them. Perhaps this war was far from over. And perhaps the real fight was only beginning. The aliens believed humans were weak. They thought the first attack was a lucky hit, nothing more than the desperate struggle of a dying species. They were wrong. A new kind of war. The first victory had changed everything. For the first time, humans had drawn blood. And now, the resistance wasn't just surviving. They were fighting back. Ilara stood in the underground war room, watching a holographic map of Earth. Red dots marked alien strongholds, but new blue markers were appearing. Small victories. Reclaimed territory. Resistance cells growing stronger every day. General Carter stepped forward. "They still have the numbers, the technology, and the firepower," he said, his voice steady. "But we have something they don't." Ilara smirked. "We have nothing to lose." Turning the enemy's strength against them. Dr. Ross had spent days studying the captured alien weaponry. The plasma rifles, the shielding technology, even their communication systems. Every hour brought new breakthroughs. "This isn't just war," she said, working late into the night. "This is adaptation." One of her engineers, a young hacker named Jace, tapped furiously on his tablet. "I think I've cracked their encryption. If we use their own signals, we can disrupt their supply chains." A slow grin spread across Dr. Ross's face. "Then let's starve them out." The Battle of New York. The aliens had taken Earth's cities with ease. They never expected humanity to take them back. The first target was New York, one of the largest alien command centers. Thousands of alien soldiers were stationed there, using the ruins of human civilization as their headquarters. Ilara and her team moved through the darkened streets, modified alien weapons in hand. They had studied their enemies' movements, their weaknesses. Now it was time to strike. With a silent signal, The Resistance launched their attack. Explosions ripped through the city as hacked alien drones turned against their masters. Human soldiers, once scattered, now fought as one. They struck from the shadows, using hit-and-run tactics, never staying in one place too long. For the first time, the aliens were afraid. The enemy's response. On the alien mothership, Supreme Commander Vector watched the chaos unfold. His once flawless invasion plan was crumbling. "These humans," he muttered, gripping the edge of his command console. "They are not like the others." A nervous officer approached. "Sir, should we deploy reinforcements?" Vector's glowing eyes narrowed. He had seen countless species fall before the might of his empire. None had ever fought back like this. For the first time, doubt crept into his mind. Had they underestimated humanity? Victory, but at a cost. By dawn, New York belonged to humans once more. The Resistance had won. But war demands sacrifice. As Ilara stood among the wreckage, watching the sun rise over the burning skyline, she knew this was just the beginning. The aliens would return, stronger and angrier. But now, humanity had proven something undeniable. They would never bow. And this time, the war was on their terms. The victory in New York was more than just a battle won. It was a message. Humans were not prey. But the enemy had heard that message loud and clear. And now, they were coming back with a vengeance. The calm before the storm. High above Earth, the alien mothership loomed in orbit, a silent predator preparing to strike. Inside, Supreme Commander Vector stood before a massive holographic display of the planet. His glowing eyes studied the red-marked zones, areas where human resistance had grown stronger. "This is unacceptable," he hissed. A subordinate, his metallic armor gleaming under the cold ship lights, bowed deeply. "The humans are more resilient than expected, Supreme Commander. Their knowledge of our technology has given them an edge." Vector's claws dug into the steel console. "Then we shall take that edge from them. Burn their cities, crush their leaders, erase their hope." With a wave of his hand, the invasion fleet descended. The sky burns. On Earth, the warning came too late. In the newly liberated ruins of New York, Ilara and her team barely had time to react before the first explosions lit up the sky. The aliens had returned, with more firepower than ever. Massive warships hovered over the city, their cannons unleashing plasma hellfire. Buildings crumbled. Streets turned to molten slag. The air filled with screams and the deafening roar of destruction. General Carter, watching from the underground bunker, clenched his fists. "They want a fight. We'll give them one." Resistance fighters scrambled to man their stolen alien weapons. Humans fought with everything they had. But this time, the enemy was ready. They weren't just invading. They were exterminating. A desperate stand. Ilara sprinted through the burning streets, dodging collapsing debris. She clutched a stolen alien rifle, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The Resistance was falling apart. Dr. Ross's voice crackled through the comms. "Ilara, we need to retreat. We can't hold the city." Ilara skidded to a stop. Retreat, after everything they had fought for. Her jaw tightened. "If we run, they'll keep coming. We make our stand here." Around her, the last surviving fighters took their positions. Snipers perched on rooftops. Soldiers armed with salvaged plasma cannons lined the streets. As the alien forces marched forward, humanity prepared for its bloodiest battle yet. The enemy's new weapon. Then the sky changed. A deep hum echoed through the air as the largest alien warship descended. It was unlike anything they had seen before. Sleek, black, and pulsing with energy, it hovered ominously over the city ruins. From its underbelly, a massive sphere detached and began to spin. Blue lightning crackled along its surface. Jace, the young hacker, gasped over the radio. "That's not a weapon. That's a disruptor." Ilara's eyes widened. "What does it do?" "It shuts down everything. Guns, shields, Even our hacked alien tech, if that thing activates, we're dead. A cold dread settled over the battlefield. Humanity's stolen advantage was about to be erased. A last-minute gamble. "We have to destroy that thing," Ilara said, gripping her rifle. Dr. Ross's voice was urgent. "We don't have the firepower for that. We need tow." "I wasn't asking," Ilara interrupted. "Find me a way." Silence. Then Jace spoke. "There is one way, but it's crazy." Ilara smirked. "Perfect. Tell me." The final push. As the alien disruptor charged up, Ilara led a suicide mission straight into enemy lines. Plasma bolts whizzed past her. Explosions shook the ground. She didn't stop. She couldn't. With only seconds left, she reached the base of the disruptor. Her stolen alien grenade beeped in her palm. "For humanity," she whispered. She hurled it at the sphere. Boom. A shockwave tore through the sky. The disruptor shuddered, flickered, and exploded. The enemy's ultimate weapon was gone. The battlefield fell silent. And then, the humans charged. Victory, or just survival. By dawn, the aliens were retreating. Humanity had won again, but at what cost? Ilara stood on the smoldering battlefield, her body aching, her mind numb. The city was gone. Countless had died. But they were still here. She looked up at the sky, where the alien mothership remained. This war wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The battle for Earth was far from over. Though humanity had won a small victory, the aliens were relentless. They would return, and next time, they wouldn't make the same mistakes. But what the aliens didn't know was that humans had learned from them too. This time, the trap was already set. The plan. Inside an underground bunker, deep beneath the ruins of Washington, D.C., a holographic map flickered in the dim light. Around the table stood the remaining human leaders: General Carter, Dr. Ross, Ilara, and Jace. "We got lucky last time," Carter said, arms crossed. "But we can't rely on luck again. We need to hit them where it hurts." Jace tapped on his tablet, pulling up schematics stolen from alien databases. "We analyzed their communication patterns. Every attack fleet has one command ship. Take it down, and the entire invasion force crumbles." Ilara leaned forward. "You're saying, we don't just fight back. We end the war." Dr. Ross nodded. "Exactly. We lure them in, disable their command ship, and force a retreat." The room fell silent. It was a bold plan, a dangerous one, but it was their only chance. General Carter exhaled sharply. "All right, let's make these bastards regret ever coming here." Setting the bait. The first step was making the aliens believe they had already won. Human forces pulled back from key cities, leaving behind just enough resistance to make it seem like humanity was on its last legs. Communications went silent, and power grids were shut down. Earth looked like it was falling. And the aliens took the bait. From the depths of space, the alien fleet descended once more. This time, they came to finish the job. The ambush. The skies burned as alien warships hovered over the battlefield. Thousands of enemy soldiers marched into ruined streets, weapons charged, ready to wipe out the last pockets of human resistance. Ilara crouched behind cover, gripping her stolen plasma rifle. Beside her, Jace whispered, "They don't know we're here." Ilara smirked. They would soon. From the wreckage of old skyscrapers, hidden human snipers locked onto their targets. Underground, explosive charges were wired and ready. In the command bunker, General Carter's voice echoed through every soldier's earpiece. "Wait for it. Wait for it." The alien warlord, Vector, stood at the front of his forces, watching the empty streets. His mandibles clicked in satisfaction. "Humans are weak," he sneered. Then, now, the battlefield erupted. Explosions ripped through alien ranks. Snipers fired from above, taking out officers in rapid succession. Tanks hidden beneath rubble emerged, their stolen alien cannons unleashing hellfire. The trap had sprung, and the slaughter had begun. Taking the command ship. As chaos consumed the battlefield, a small elite team had one final mission. Ilara, Jace, and a handful of resistance fighters raced through the crumbling ruins toward the alien command ship. If they could reach it, they could take control and shut down the entire invasion. Jace hacked into the ship's systems as they ran. "I can get us inside, but we need to be fast." Ilara nodded. "Then let's move." Enemy soldiers blocked their path, but the humans were faster, stronger, desperate. Plasma bolts lit up the night as Ilara and her team fought their way forward. Finally, they'd reached the ship. Jace slammed his device against the control panel. "I'm in." The hatch slid open, revealing the massive alien bridge inside. And standing there, waiting for them, Vector. The final battle. Ilara raised her weapon, but Vector was faster. With inhuman speed, he lunged, knocking the rifle from her hands. She barely had time to react before he grabbed her by the throat and lifted her off the ground. "You think you can defeat us?" Vector snarled. "You are nothing." Ilara gasped for breath, but she wasn't afraid. She smirked. "You still don't get it, do you?" she whispered. Jace grinned from the control panel. "We already won." With a single keystroke, he shut down the entire command system. Across the battlefield, alien ships powered down. Their weapons stopped firing. Their troops froze in confusion. And then, humanity struck back. The turning point. With their fleet crippled, the alien forces had no choice. They retreated, abandoning their ground troops. Vector roared in rage, releasing Ilara as he staggered back. "No, this is impossible." Ilara picked up her rifle and aimed it at him. "Welcome to Earth," she said, and pulled the trigger. "The war is not over. Yet." The battle was won. The aliens had fled. But Ilara knew this wasn't the end. As she stood on the wreckage of the alien command ship, watching the sky, she clenched her fists. The enemy would return. They always did. But next time, humanity would be ready. The battle had turned. What once seemed like Earth's final stand had become a decisive human victory. The aliens had been forced into retreat, their once mighty fleet now in complete disarray. But the war was not over. Not yet. The aftermath. Smoke and fire filled the sky as human soldiers moved through the battlefield, securing what remained of the alien forces. Wounded enemies lay scattered across the ruined streets, their weapons useless now that their command ship had been disabled. Ilara wiped sweat and dirt from her forehead as she looked around. The city was barely recognizable, but it was still standing. That alone was a miracle. Jace walked up beside her, tapping on his tablet. "The alien fleet is pulling back into orbit. We did it." She exhaled. "Not yet. They'll regroup. We have to finish this." General Carter's voice crackled through their earpieces. "We have a window of opportunity. If we don't take them out now, they'll come back stronger." Ilara nodded. "Then let's hit them before they have the chance." The final pursuit. Humanity had never had a chance to go on the offensive. Until now. With the alien command ship crippled, their fleet was vulnerable. For the first time, humans had a chance to take the fight to space. Jace's fingers flew across his tablet. "I've cracked their ship's mainframe. We can use their own transporters." Ilara's eyes widened. "You're saying we board their fleet?" Jace smirked. "I'm saying we finish what we started." Carter's voice came through again. "Get your team ready. We're taking the fight to them." Into the lion's den. A small but elite strike force of human soldiers gathered inside the remains of the alien command ship. They wore scavenged alien armor, carrying a mix of human and stolen weapons. For the first time, they were the invaders. Jace activated the transporter. A pulse of blue light engulfed the team. And suddenly, they were aboard the alien mothership. The corridors were eerily silent. The ship was massive, its walls glowing with strange symbols. Every step echoed through the emptiness. "They don't know we're here," Ilara whispered. "Not yet," Jace muttered. The mission was clear. Reach the control center, disable their weapons, and make sure they could never return. But deep inside the ship, something was waiting for them. The alien counterattack. As the humans moved forward, alarms suddenly blared. They had been discovered. From every hallway, alien warriors emerged, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. Jace ducked behind cover. So much for the element of surprise. Ilara raised her rifle. Then we fight. The battle inside the ship was brutal. Plasma bolts filled the air as humans and aliens clashed in close quarters. Explosions shook the ship as both sides fought for control. But humans had one advantage. They were fighting for survival. And they refused to lose, shutting down the fleet. After a brutal fight, Ilara and her team finally reached the control center. Jace sprinted to the main console. "I can disable their hyperdrives. If they can't escape, they'll be forced to surrender." "Do it," Ilara ordered, covering him as more aliens closed in. Jace worked fast, fingers flying over the glowing alien controls. Suddenly, the ship lurched violently. The engines roared as warning sirens screamed. "What did you do?" Ilara shouted. Jace's eyes widened. "I may have overloaded their reactor." Ilara groaned. "Of course you did." They had minutes before the ship exploded. Escape and victory. The human team raced toward the transporter, dodging falling debris and enemy fire. The ship was breaking apart, flames bursting from every corridor. Jace activated the teleport just in time. A flash of blue light engulfed them. And suddenly, they were back on Earth. Above them, the alien mothership erupted in a massive explosion. The shockwave rippled across the sky as the remaining alien ships flowed into deep space. They were running because they had lost. Humanity had won. The war is over, or is it? The battlefield was silent. The night sky was clear. For the first time in years, Earth was free. Ilara looked at the burning wreckage of the alien fleet and let out a breath. "It's over." Jace smirked. "For now." Carter's voice came through their comms. "You all did good today, but this isn't the end. They'll come back, and when they do, we'll be waiting." Ilara nodded. Because if there was one thing humanity had proven, it was this. They would never go down without a fight. The war was over, but humanity knew peace was temporary. The enemy had been defeated, but they weren't gone. Somewhere out there, in the vastness of space, the remnants of their fleet were regrouping, licking their wounds, and planning their next move. But this time, humanity wouldn't wait. The broadcast begins. In the heart of Earth's military headquarters, a massive transmission array was being activated. Every human colony, every outpost, every station orbiting distant planets had their signals aligned. General Carter stood before the cameras, his uniform torn and scorched from battle. He hadn't slept in days, but his eyes were sharp, his voice unwavering. "This message is for the entire galaxy." A technician signaled. The transmission had begun. Across thousands of alien worlds, millions of beings turned their heads as humanity spoke. The warning. "You came to our home," Carter said. His voice was calm, but there was a storm behind it. "You killed our people, burned our cities, and thought we would surrender." The image on the screen changed. Footage of the battle, of human forces standing against impossible odds, of alien ships falling from the sky. "But we fought back, and we won." The transmission flickered again. Now it showed the wreckage of the enemy mothership, burning in Earth's atmosphere. The alien fleet scattered, broken, fleeing. Carter leaned forward. "To those who would challenge us, hear this. We are not prey. We are not weak. We do not surrender." His voice hardened. "You wanted war. You got it. The galaxy reacts." In countless corners of the galaxy, rulers, warlords, and politicians watched in silence. Some sneered, believing humans were reckless. Others felt fear. Because no species had ever spoken like this before. Humans had been underestimated. But now, they had proven their strength, and they had made a promise. The final decision. As the broadcast ended, Carter turned to Ilara and Jace. "What happens next?" Ilara asked. Carter smirked. "That's up to them." Jace chuckled. "Somehow, I think they got the message." Outside, Earth's defenses were being rebuilt, strengthened, expanded. The war had ended, but humanity was already preparing for the next fight. Because next time, they wouldn't be defending. They would be taking the war to the stars.